Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen, and in today's video, we're gonna take a little stroll through my backyard. Let's take a look at the garden. We're gonna start the tour all the way down at the very bottom of the property by the shed, and I call this our shed bed. First thing I want you to take notice to is our poor crepe myrtle tree is not doing so good. Not quite sure what's going on. It does have a little bit of green popping out, but not a lot. There's a lot of dead limbs. Not quite sure what I'm gonna do about this tree. I don't know if I'm gonna limb it up and get rid of all the dead branches and keep the live branches, or if we're gonna take it down. It's really not looking good. But what is looking good is a sweet rose that I've had down in this bed, and I can't remember what the name of this rose is, but I know that we have had this rose for about 7 years. And of course, a whole bunch of hosta lining the back of the flower bed, with a couple of arbs dotted along the front. I really am struggling to get things to really take and grow in this bed. Originally, I wanted it to be a conifer bed, but you can see the conifers that I planted are struggling and are not happy. I'm gonna have to definitely rethink what I wanna do in this garden, but I would like to have some kind of a pathway and a little bench underneath this big, beautiful pine tree. I have another shrub here. I believe that's a burning bush. Then right here, we did lay down some fresh compost because we removed all of the lamb's ear that was in this section. It was quite invasive. It wasn't the kind of lamb's ear that I wanted in my garden, so we decided to take it out. But here is the surprise of all surprises. My thundercloud plum tree is alive. We transplanted this tree. It had major buck rub damage on the trunk. The first year that we planted it, this tree is 5 years old. When we transplanted it to the back, it lost all of its leaves last year, and it did absolutely nothing all summer long. But look, it is alive. It does need to be pruned up a little bit, but overall, I just cannot believe that this tree looks as good as it does. That is awesome. Here's a little wild area with an azalea that blooms white, some ferns, and some hosta. And here is the shed that does still need a very good clean. But as you can see, we have some beautiful roses. So here's the area that we just cleaned up together the other week. You can see here's an update on the vintage planter that we planted together, and it is looking really good. And off camera, I did complete this planter. I put some perennials and some annuals in it, and it's looking pretty darn good considering all the rain that we've had. My blue salvia is growing nicely. And here's a Kwanzaa cherry tree that is looking absolutely amazing. And of course, the star of the show on the shed right now is this climbing rose. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of this rose, and it is not scented, and it is not a rebloomer. So if I had to do it again, I definitely would choose something different. But this time of year, it is the prettiest, palest ballet pink color rose. Absolutely stunning. Love it. We have some ferns, and it does look like the hyssop that I planted right here and right back there. It's hard to see, but the hyssop is looking really good and is taking off. We have some autumn joy sedums, some salvia that is all ready to be cut back, and my darling little tree. And I think this tree is also about 7 years old. Then right behind the shed, going up the pathway, we have two really tall Cleveland pear trees. And these Cleveland pear trees are not the invasive kind. The invasive kind of pear tree is a Bradford pear. We recently refreshed our garden paths with fresh wood chips, and it really has made all the difference. I absolutely love how the refresh on the pathways made everything look, pulled everything together. Let's spin around down here and go up this bed. Here's a beautiful lemon magnolia. Now this magnolia actually blooms this time of year. It's not a early spring bloomer like most magnolias. The whole back garden area down here when this is in full bloom just smells amazing with the perfume of the magnolias. And over here I have, I can't remember what this is called. Oh, this is bee balm. And I don't know, I'd like your opinion on this. I'm not quite sure what to say about this bee balm. It looks kind of leggy and tattered around the base and dry. And I don't know why. Is it because it's getting too much rain? Let me know down below what you think is going on with this bee balm. It's tall, it's gonna bloom, but again, it looks really straggly, so I don't know if I want to keep this in my garden or let it go. Here's some evergreens, a beautiful grass. We have a phlox that's just about ready to bloom and some yarrow that's about ready to bloom. We have a shrub, and then we have a crabapple tree in this bed. So other than this weird thing this plant is doing, I am really pleased with this bed. Let's spin around and look at it from a different angle. Oh, excitingly, I planted some dahlias, and what I did was I just took a little green stake and put a stake wherever I put the dahlias. Now there has been something digging up my dahlias, but right here we have some growth. That's pretty cool. This is my first time growing dahlias. Let's see if there's anything going on back here yet. I planted a couple. Nothing there. Nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. Oh no, this is lilies. This isn't dahlias back here. Okay, this little section is lilies, that's right. And then this section over here is dahlias. Columbine is just gonna go to seed. This year I am going to actually collect the seeds and store them and plant them all up next summer. And here's some really pretty salvia. So pretty. Here's the other bed that is along the fence where we have our retractable hose reel. And I'm happy to say that our petunias are finally starting to show some life. We did pinch our petunias back. And the reason that you want to pinch your petunias back when you plant them is to ensure that the petunia grows out along the ground instead of straight up. It'll create a bushier little plant for you. I think Larkspur is becoming my favorite annual. It is just so pretty, so whimsical. Let me spin you this way. And look at how it just dances in the breeze. I do have 3 roses right here. They are not blooming yet. I just transplanted them, so it might take a little while for them to get used to their new area. And then right here, we have some pink cleome that is growing, along with some weeds and some ground cover. And this is a blueberry muffin viburnum bush. Now onto the raised bed area. Right here, tucked right along the deck, we have the tree that I desperately want to remove, but I never get around to removing it. This is a standard hydrangea tree, and this tree, I don't love it. We have too much rain and too much humidity for this tree, so when it blooms, no matter how I prune it, the stalks just get super long and the whole tree flops over. There's some spiderwort. And back here in the corner, there is an evergreen that is getting shrouded out by shade plants. But I wanted to share this view with you. Look at the rose with the larkspur. Isn't that just so sweet? And believe it or not, I have gladiolas that are coming back. I didn't think they were supposed to come back, but apparently they love their life where they are. So we'll see if they actually give me a bloom. Here's my most favorite evergreen. It's really put on a lot of beautiful growth this year. And I think the purple penstemon right next to this icy blue evergreen is a stunning combination. And then when you add the peach onto it, it is chef's kiss. I love it. Let's go ahead and walk up the pathway now into the raised bed areas. Now remember, 3 years ago, this was all grass. There was a little flower bed right along the deck, but all this was completely grass. There was nothing here. Husband and I put in the raised beds all by ourselves with the help of some friends. We filled in with a very good rich compost and started planting. And my pro tip, when you are putting in new flower beds, if you are putting in flower beds in a larger scale, don't be afraid to go to garden centers and buy your plants from the clearance section. Even if you're buying perennials in the clearance section and they're not in bloom, that doesn't mean the next year they're not going to bloom. They are going to put on quite a show. And you're going to be buying the plant at a fraction of the price. 90% of the plants that I bought in this bed were all on sale. And I'm talking major deep discount. These beautiful pink shrub roses, I believe were $4 or $5 a piece. And these shrub roses just bloom the whole season long. Let's start over here. I have another dahlia popping up right here. And I believe this is a cafe au lait. And right in here, all these little seedlings, there's a couple of weeds, but most of the seedlings, these are all agastache and some zinnias. I planted some zinnias up there, along with this beautiful evergreen magnolia tree. And then I have some stock seedlings right there. I have a dahlia right back there in the distance, and then cat's pajama nepeta. And right along here we have some sweet peas that are growing. I did plant a moonflower on each end. I don't know if the moonflower is popping up. I believe it is. And then here is a beautiful David Austin rose. This is a fragrant rebloomer, and this will bloom yellow. And I mirrored that on the other side. You can see the seedlings aren't popping up yet, but I do have some buds on this rose. This is a perennial geranium with an old little fence post with a hook on it that I need to get a little lantern for. And then here's another view of the larkspur. I have white, pale lavender, and deep purple. Another pro trick that I'd like to share with you is how to reseed this larkspur. It could not be simpler, and my goodness, I did this method last year and wow, I have larkspur everywhere. So this larkspur is going to last about 3 to 4 weeks. And then once it's done, it's going to start dying off and going to seed. That's when I'm going to tag the color plants that I want, because remember, I have light purple, dark purple, and white. So I'll make sure that I tag each one before it totally goes out of bloom. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut the stalks all the way back to allow some airflow around all the other plants that are kind of being smothered out right now by the larkspur. I'm not worried about that because, again, this is only going to last a few weeks, and then I'm going to remove it all, so everything around this area is going to be just fine. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut back all of the stalks, and I'm going to take those stalks and I'm literally just going to lay the stalks around in my flower bed and let them reseed themselves. That's all I did. I might have had maybe 2 or 3 larkspur back in this bed last year, but as you can see, I have larkspur going all the way up. It is just full, and it was completely free because I bought the seeds the year before that. So this is a hack that I highly recommend everybody do because, wow, look at the show that is going to put on in the late spring, early summer months in my garden zone 6B. Here's a better look at the status seedlings that I planted, and I want to say that right there might be a crabapple tree. Not sure. I'll have to use my phone identifier and see if I can figure out what exactly that is. But if it is a crabapple tree, guess what? We're keeping her right there until she grows big and strong, and then we'll move her to a different spot. The statement piece in any cottage garden is a boxwood. No matter how you prune these boxwoods, whether you leave them fluffy, turn them into a box shape, a gumdrop shape, it doesn't matter. Boxwoods are an absolute must for the garden. And my petunias. These are wave petunias, and they are starting to pop, which is amazing. Let me spin over here. Here's a whole bunch more tucked in. We have a little right back in there, right around the geranium. Here's a really cool evergreen that I got on sale 3 years ago. I want to say for maybe $30. It was about half this size, but because of the good compost that we used in the soil, this tree has really grown. One of my most favorite plants is a spirea. These spirea shrubs, I have multiple different varieties throughout my property. They are a go-to for me. They are a workhorse in the garden, and they always add such beautiful color and texture in an otherwise flat-looking garden. Let me spin you around here. Here's the penstemon. And look at that peach rose. We have some sedum stone crop ground cover. We have some other ground cover. I can't remember the name of that, but it's so sweet. And then a whole bunch of larkspur that, remember, is only going to be around just for a couple more weeks. And look at these sweet shrub roses. And look at how a spirea shrub, a different variety than what I just showed you, it's a beautiful backdrop for this rose. Here's an evergreen that once this larkspur gets cut back in a couple of weeks, we'll have plenty of room to grow. And I will be trimming back this spirea shrub as well, but not until after June 21st. That's the day that I'm having my photo shoot here in the gardens. The bees are all over that, I can hear it. Here's a whole bunch of blue flax. Now, blue flax blooms early in the morning and then all the petals fade. You can see that there's a whole bunch of petals on the ground, but this is such a true blue flower. I highly recommend it, but be warned, it will reseed itself all over the area. But if you have a cottage garden like me, you want everything to scatter all over, so it's not a big deal. Back there, I have another spirea, an evergreen, arb, a smoke bush, boxwood, some white salvia, another geranium, a perennial grass, and a whole bunch of daisies that are just about ready to bloom. Spinning around here. An amazing ground cover, elfin thyme. I definitely want to get more of that. Punctuated with a couple of sweet petunias. And shockingly, more larkspur. We'll just spin around this way real quickly. A couple more Shasta daisies, another spirea, some daylilies, yellow daylilies. I know that you just saw me redo this section not too long ago, and I pulled out the pansies, but the petunias are looking so nice. And look, I did miss some pansies. Like, how did I miss them? What is wrong with me? Oh well, I will get them another time. Spinning around here next to Clyde slash marshmallows domain is the upper flower bed. And this flower bed is part of the chatio area. Let me spin you around and show you the chatio area. We just did a little tidy of this area not too long ago. But we did, as you can see, put together a really cool firewood holder. I got this from Amazon, super cheap. And this is perfect. It gives the firewood a place to live instead of just heaped up at the edge of our driveway. Some more petunias, some angelonia, I believe. Clyde! Hey, dude, what's up? How's it going? Clyde slash marshmallow. Which do you want to be? You're not sure? Okay, well, you just let me know. Okay. Oh my goodness, I'm so weird. I'm talking to a chipmunk. Okay, upper flower bed without scaring poor Clyde slash marshmallow. All right, we have some more angelonia here, a little bit of ground cover, a really pretty purple stone crop sedum. Look at how this hydrangea is all ready to bloom. Wow. Next to the penstemon. And then down here I did ring this bed with a whole bunch of nasturtium seeds and petunias, and they are starting to pop. Some grass. I don't know if you remember, but we planted a whole bunch of hummingbird plants. Again, can't find the package, but I know that they're called hummingbird plants. I grew these from seeds using the winter sowing method, and they're looking quite nice. I can't wait to see what they do, how tall they get, all that good stuff. Here's a purple echinacea, some sedum, larkspur, pretty euonymus, some petunias popped in there, some yarrow popped in there, and here's another shrub rose. You can see there's all my petunias popping along this way. More larkspur. We did transplant this shrub together, and it is doing just fine. It is always important when you are creating a landscape to make sure that you do have evergreen interest, because in the wintertime, all this fluffy stuff goes away and you're left with just evergreen structure. So we have the boxwood, we have a globe arb, and so on and so forth. It's very important to add evergreens into your landscape. And I believe that this right here and right back there are speedwell, and we also have some phlox mixed in there. Shrub rose and an evergreen grass, and here is a hydrangea that is going to put on quite a show. A pretty white rose shrub. And a whole bunch of larkspur that does need to be staked up from a bad storm that we had not too long ago. It was an awful storm, and we did have a tree right here topple over, which still needs to be fixed. I planted some dahlias down here. Here's a phlox. We have a whole bunch of zinnia seedlings and another globe arborvitae for winter interest. Can we all take a moment and appreciate how my Nellie Stevens hollies did not die like I thought they did. In the middle of the spring, they were completely brown, totally dead, had no leaves. I gave them a very healthy dose of organic fertilizer right before a big rain, and they all flushed out. Now, I'm not going to be pruning on these at all right now. I'm just going to let them be, even though they look like they need pruned. We'll prune them next year. We're just going to let them recover this year. And I got so excited with my roses on this side, I wanted to come back and show you what's going on this side of the pathway. Beautiful shrub roses, a globe, arborvitae. Here's a tree that basically uprooted itself, needs to be staked. Some petunias. Look at the shrub rose with the larkspur. Classic cottage right there. Perfect. Moving up here is some antilonia. And over here is phlox. I believe this is a white phlox. We have a whole bunch of seedlings down here. Not quite sure what I planted in here. Some hummingbird plants, it looks like. And this is all Dara that reseeded itself. And Dara is a Queen Anne's lace dupe. I have some right here as well. We just took a look at this side of the raised flower bed not too long ago. I have some containers I still need to fill up, but we are getting there. I just cut back the snow in summer and it should reflush. A strawberry that I never eat strawberries off of. I guess this is going to be Clyde / marshmallows snack area. I don't know. Clyde was digging. Look, Clyde, if you're gonna dig, we're gonna have issues, buddy. I'll have to put some rocks or something there so he won't dig. And then here is this view of this little corner of the raised flower bed. I hope you had as much fun watching this video as I had making this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!